question. What do a 19th century sea voyage, the Civil War, and your grandma's fudge recipe all have in common? Condensed milk. This stuff is basically milk that went to the gym, cut all its water weight, and came back absolutely loaded with sugar. And that sugar isn't just there to make it taste like a hug in a can, it's doing double duty as a natural preservative, which is why a can of this stuff can sit in your pantry for over a year and still be perfectly fine. No fridge required. In a world before refrigeration was a thing everyone had, that was basically magic in a can. And here's a number that might surprise you. Americans go through roughly 762,000 tons of sweetened condensed milk every single year, a market worth north of $2.3 billion. That's produced across hundreds of dairy plants nationwide, feeding everything from grandma's fudge to key lime pie to that no-churn ice cream recipe blowing up on Pinterest. Plus the can sitting in the back of your pantry right now that's probably older than you think and still totally fine to use. So how does a thick, sweet, cream-colored syrup go from raw milk to a shelf-stable staple in kitchens around the world? Let's break it down.
Condensed milk wasn't dreamed up in some fancy test kitchen. It was born out of a genuinely rough situation. Back in the 1850s, a newspaper man turned inventor named Gail Borden was on a ship crossing the Atlantic when he watched children on board suffer because the milk had spoiled. There was no way to keep it fresh, and that stuck with him. So he went home and got obsessed with one question. How do you make milk that doesn't die after a few days? His answer was to boil off most of the water, leaving behind a thick, concentrated version that could survive way longer than the fresh stuff. He patented it in 1856, and it might have stayed a niche product if not for what happened a few years later. The Civil War hit, and the U.S. military needed calorie-dense, easy-to-transport food for soldiers. Condensed milk fit the bill perfectly. Lightweight, packed with energy, didn't spoil. It got issued as military rations, and when soldiers went home after the war, they brought their new favorite pantry item with them. That's essentially how condensed milk went from clever workaround to American household staple.
Before it's a syrup, it's just milk, and getting that milk is a much more high-tech operation than you'd expect. In the U.S. alone, there are more than 60,000 dairy farms, milking upwards of 9 million cows. And milking has gone from a hands-on chore to something closer to an assembly line. A person milking by hand can handle maybe 6 cows an hour. With modern mechanized equipment, over 70 cows an hour. For a worker, that's more than a 10-fold jump. On big farms, cows move through milking parlors or rotating carousels. Picture a slow-spinning merry-go-round, except instead of horses, it's cows getting milked. Every piece of equipment gets sanitized before each use, and the cow's udder gets cleaned with iodine or chlorine-based solutions to knock out bacteria before the milking cups, called claws, even go on. Here's the clever part. The machines use sensors to track milk flow in real time. The second the flow starts slowing down, meaning the cow is empty, the machine automatically stops. No overmilking, no discomfort for the animal, it's all calibrated to stop exactly on time. From there, the milk goes straight into refrigerated tanks, chilled to between 35 and 39 degrees Fahrenheit, and gets loaded onto refrigerated tanker trucks. And here's a detail most people never think about. Milk from different farms usually doesn't get mixed together in the truck. That's on purpose. It keeps every batch traceable back to its source in case anything ever needs to be checked. Before this milk becomes anything, it has to survive a serious quality control gauntlet. At the farm, quick tests check things like acidity, smell, and general appearance. Then, once it arrives at the processing plant, it goes through another full battery of tests, checking for banned additives like added water, screening for antibiotic residue, pesticides and other contaminants, and scanning for dangerous microorganism levels. Only after passing all of that does the truck actually get hooked up via sterilized hoses to the plant's massive storage tanks. And massive is an understatement. Some major dairy processing plants can store up to 2.8 million liters of milk at once. That's enough raw milk to eventually produce more than 20 million cans of condensed milk.
from a single storage tank.
The milk gets filtered, then sent into a centrifuge, basically a giant spinning drum. Because fat is lighter than the rest of the milk, spinning it at high speed forces the heavier skim milk outward while the fat, or cream, collects toward the center. The two get siphoned off separately, which lets manufacturers dial in exactly how fatty the final product will be. For condensed milk specifically, the fat content usually gets adjusted to somewhere between 6 and 10%. Next up, pasteurization. The milk gets heated to around 161 to 167 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 seconds, then rapidly cooled back down to near refrigerator temperature. This kills off harmful microorganisms without cooking the milk or wrecking the flavor. Fun fact, this process is named after Louis Pasteur, the French scientist who developed it back in 1864, not originally for milk, but for wine and beer that kept mysteriously spoiling. It wasn't adapted for milk specifically until decades later, but once it was, it became one of the biggest public health wins in food history, slashing rates of diseases like tuberculosis that used to spread through contaminated milk.
This is where condensed milk actually becomes condensed milk. A large quantity of sugar gets added directly to the pasteurized milk. This isn't a light drizzle, it's a serious amount, engineered specifically to lower the water activity in the mixture. Less available water means bacteria have basically nowhere to grow, which is the real secret behind that insane shelf life.
The sugared milk then heads into vacuum evaporators, specialized equipment that removes water at lower temperatures than normal boiling thanks to reduced air pressure inside. Water gets pulled out at somewhere between 104 and 158 degrees Fahrenheit, gentle enough to preserve flavor and nutrients while still doing serious work. By the end of this step, about 70% of the water originally in the milk is gone. What's left behind gets monitored constantly until the total solid content, fat, protein, sugar, everything, lands in that sweet spot of 25 to 30%. That ratio is the difference between condensed milk and regular milk that's just thicker.
Here's a detail that rarely gets mentioned. Right after evaporation, the mixture gets rapidly cooled to around 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and manufacturers deliberately trigger something called controlled crystallization, seeding the mixture with tiny sugar crystals on purpose. Why would you want crystals in there? Because it's a texture hack. Inducing lots of microscopic crystals early keeps the final product smooth and creamy, rather than ending up with a few large, gritty sugar chunks later. It sounds counterintuitive, but adding a controlled amount of roughness now prevents an uncontrolled, grainy mess down the line.
Before filling, cans go through sterilization using heat, steam, or UV light. The condensed milk itself travels through sterilized piping straight from the storage tanks to filling machines, which measure out precise amounts, commonly around 14 ounces per can, with almost zero waste. Once filled, each can gets hermetically sealed, meaning it's airtight enough to keep out contamination for the long haul. A production date, expiration date, and batch number get stamped onto every single can, so if there's ever an issue, it can be traced back to the exact production run. From there, it's off to temperature-controlled storage and eventually onto store shelves.
So, the next time you're squeezing condensed milk into your coffee, drizzling it over dessert, or making a patch of fudge, remember, what you're holding is basically the result of a 19th century sailor's problem, a Civil War ration, cutting-edge dairy tech, and a genuinely clever chemistry trick, all packed into one unassuming little can that never seems to go bad.